night tonight. So we're really excited for the performers that we're going to have. And we're going to begin performing a CA. Let's give it up for sophomore Bradley Wascher.
The July 24th, 2017 broadcast of Tucker Carlson's nightly show went as expected. Running a segment on transgender children, the Fox News host invited Dr. Michelle Pritella, an expert researcher on the subject. Unsurprisingly, the nearly 5-minute exchange culminated in consensus. Most transgender kids aren't really trans. They're desisters. The Atlantic of July 10, 2018 explains, desisters are gender non-conforming children who grow into cisgender adults, or a trans person who detransitions. These cases are exceedingly rare, but Julia Serrano, a leading transgender rights activist, notes on June 24, 2018, desisting has become a buzzword for anti-trans propagandists, and an effort to promote the narrative that detransitioning is a widespread phenomenon. A 2018 report from the Human Rights Campaign confirms transgender teens already face disproportionate stigma, harassment, and violence. The popularization of the term desister is just another means of delegitimizing their experiences, compelling us to ask, how do transphobic media outlets attempt to advance the desister myth? To answer, we'll turn to Cry Wolf, Cried the Wolf, constructing the issue of false rape allegations in New Zealand media texts, published by Nicola Gabby and Virginia Gao in the August 2001 edition of Feminism and Psychology. This article deconstructs the strategies reporters use to portray small-scale, traumatic occurrences as endemic, self-serving trends. So let's analyze Gabby and Gao's model, apply it to the desister myth, and consider implications to what the aforementioned Atlantic calls the loaded language shaping the trans conversation. After a high-profile false rape trial in 1996, news outlets in New Zealand began describing these cases as the norm, despite research suggesting otherwise. Gabby and Gao describe how media portrayals made sexual assault seem like crying wolf through 3 steps: apparent balance, selection, and connotative associations. Initially, media outlets created apparent balance. Journalists set out to find the truth between 2 groups, police and victims. Yet Gabby and Gao explain, articles primarily highlighted the credibility of police, effectively privileging only one side. Reporters routinely emphasized titles like detective and sergeant, along with their official investigations, which often pointed out that some rape allegations were officially declared false. Focusing on the side and credentials of only one part of the debate allows journalists to appear objective or balanced. Next, news sites selected information that best supported their narrative. Gabby and Gao point to numerous outlets inflating the number of false rape allegations by including any victim who retracted an accusation. In some cases, journalists even reported instances of women who simply chose not to pursue a formal report. By not considering the myriad of reasons a victim may not move forward with an investigation, these outlets rendered them all liars in an effort to create a convenient statistic. Finally, sites drew connotative associations. The authors explain, careful headlining or branding allows editors to present an issue in a favorable way at first glance. One New Zealand article was simply titled Cry Wolf, a conscious decision to make bypassers draw parallels between the Aesop fable and the bogus rape reports. Gabby and Gao conclude, these strategies subtly reinforce perceptions about women's proclivity to lie about rape, without even reading the article. Although the media landscape has changed dramatically since 1996, Media strategies have not. Let's see how by applying Gabby and Gal's model to the desister debate. Initially, journalists covered desisters under the illusion of balance. The Cut of February 7th, 2017 explains, conservative forums regularly invite specialists to panels about desisters. A popular option is Kenneth Zucker, the man credited with coining the term. He's been interviewed by Focus on the Family Research Council, and Americans for Truth about homosexuality. Zucker, like many desister specialists, has a long anti-trans history. But viewers only see a doctor from the University of Toronto who's an expert in childhood trans studies, providing the appearance of objectivity. Next, stories select information that best supports their narrative. The Huffington Post of February 1st, 2017 explains, one of the most common statistics offered is 84% of trans children end up desisting. Yet, reporters interestingly fail to mention the original study's poor methodology, like conflating gender nonconforming with transgender, labeling some kids desisters when they were never trans to begin with. Bryn Tannenhill of the Trans United Fund likens the 84% stat to the argument that vaccines cause autism. After so many selected repetitions, a convenient statistic is nearly impossible to disprove. Finally, sites drew connotative associations. Most headlines about detransitioning have titles suggesting uncertainty or confusion, like, how many kids grow up to stay trans? Or, how changeable is gender? According to The Guardian of January 11th, 2017, even the BBC released a documentary titled Transgender Kids, Who Knows Best?, featuring none other than Dr. Kenneth Zucker. In doing so, these outlets brand the legitimacy of trans children as an unanswered question. So, how do transphobic media reporters attempt to advance the desister myth? By utilizing seemingly balanced coverage, favorable statistics, and clever branding, transphobic outlets convincingly portray desisters as a growing class, yielding two implications. On a methodological level, this strategy challenges the victim status of trans youth. Gabby and Gal argue, false rape allegations shift victimhood from accusers to the accused. According to Vox's September 28, 2018, it's why Brett Kavanaugh was able to position himself as a victim during his confirmation process. The model makes it abundantly clear. By hyperbolizing the prevalence of desisters, trans youth become antagonists to a new victim: parents. The Cincinnati Enquirer furthers on June 28, 2018, Ohio lawmakers recently proposed legislation protecting parents of trans kids by making it easier to deny treatment. In this way, the desister debate rhetorically frames these kids as villains in their own stories. In crying wolf, they become the wolf. Finally, the desister debate makes it even more difficult for trans children to come out. Gabby and Gal argue, when rape claims are presumed false, victims won't expect to be believed, thereby dissuading them from coming forward altogether. The same applies to a closeted trans child, finally building up the courage to come out, only to be confronted with stories of desisting. But what of actual desisters? While rare, the aforementioned Atlantic explains, some choose to detransition because the gender they try simply doesn't fit. But now, many detransitioned trans people worry their narratives will be weaponized to complicate access to transition for others. Ultimately, this debate sets a rhetorical trap, telling vulnerable children struggling with gender identity they are either liars or proof that others are.
Wow.
After Tucker Carlson's primetime conversation with Dr. Cotella ended, they were certain they'd figured it out. But after exploring Gabby and Gal's model, its application to the myth and implications, we know it's not that simple.
the mall, get the sheet, and go. But it took a long time for me to even find the map. I traced the line between "you are here" and "luxury sheet kiosk." The man next to me took a picture. Pretty clever. I glanced at his tall, brawny body. Electricity revved through my veins for no particular reason. I kept my eyes on him as I walked towards the luxury chic kiosk, bracing myself for the moment he'd peel off into a different direction. But he never did. He kept looking at me out of the corner of his eye. Somewhere between Baby Gap and Lady Foot Locker, he must have recognized me. He recognized the video. In 2019, women still face backlash from being too sexual or not sexual enough. A struggle reflected in a survey conducted by the National Council on Family Relations last year found, as women's perceived levels of sexual experience increases, so does their desirability as a dating partner, but not as a spouse. The takeaway? Men want their girlfriends wild, not their wives. Author Miranda July echoes these sentiments, exploring the particular difficulties faced by married women when confronted with a sexual history that, if revealed, could change the relationship entirely. July demands we disconnect a woman's identity from a man's desire. The Metal Bowl by Miranda July. I was 22 when the video was shot. I needed quick money to get out of a bad relationship. It happened in an apartment on an old couch. I was given a series of props to make my way through. Like an obstacle course. A turquoise teddy bear, a pillow, and a metal bowl. Not everything was clear to me. I was waiting for a costume, something black and sexy or pink and trashy. But instead, a man in a baseball cap just said, "Okay, we're rolling." So I grubbed against that teddy bear, and I rode the pillow. And I held the bowl. And then I set it aside. The video shoot became the central sexual experience of my life. I showed it to each boyfriend after that just to blow their minds. There was only one I didn't tell. Alex. He was a very classy man, emotionally speaking, and I didn't want to give him any indication of basket casery. After I married him, though. I knew I waited way too long. I mean, we were too close for that now. If anything, I regret not having met Alex sooner. I mean, if we had met at my birth, I could have left the hospital with him and gotten started on a relationship immediately. He would have been 8, young, but not too young to keep me alive. I needed that, my man. Sometimes my love for him is so intense, I just want to crawl inside of his body. But other times I look at him and I think, who is that guy? And when I get that look on my face, Alex reaches out his hand. He says, "Hi, I'm Alex. Your husband?" The tall, brawny man idled a few feet away from me. His eyes met mine, so I gave him this secret smile. Though a lot had happened in the past 17 years, a marriage, a child, a career, I realized I wasn't a stone. I was one of life's biggest fans, the best example of a living thing. He was right next to me. His face opened with surprise, so I opened myself too. in the house next to yours, he said. I hated this conversation. I kept thinking about bringing up my husband to Joel, but I never did. I drove home and sat in the car. It was hot, but I kept my seatbelt on, taking a few deep breaths in, thinking. Before Joel, I thought I could still be recognized. How do you even mourn that kind of loss? Just kind of pulls your whole life down. My phone rang. Alex. Are you home, he asks. Yeah, I just need to pour my heart out to someone so I can feel empty and unburdened when I come inside to you. I wanted him to say, you can pour your heart out to me. But he didn't. He never takes the bait. Which, I mean, is good because it teaches me to be more direct in asking for what I need. Or does it? So far it hadn't. In bed that night, I turned out my light, but Alex left his on, leaving space for my confession. I had done nothing wrong, but my heart was pounding nonetheless. Once, many years ago, Alex saved me from this black hole with the kind of understanding that made everything else in life seem possible. So I thought, I at least owed him this. If he was awake, I would try to tell him everything finally. And if he was asleep, I would sleep too. I told myself, try to be brave. Are you awake? Wide awake, he said. So I sat up and told him everything, starting from the abusive boyfriend all the way up until meeting Joel. And when I finished, I closed my eyes and took a huge deep breath in, and when I finally finished, Alex silently left the room. I had made a horrible mistake. Then he came back with a teddy bear and a bowl. I am not recreating it. Then he grabbed the teddy bear and started riding it. He was very much an amateur. I had never seen him move his hips like that. It was funny, slightly grotesque, disorienting. But sweet. I thought, hey, stranger. And by stranger, I meant me, not Alex. Because I felt the blood move through my veins again, and I felt the purpose of every muscle. Because he recognized me. And it didn't even matter that he hadn't seen the video.
Reese Johnson.
Look at my finger. What do you see? Is it E.T. giving a pinky promise? Is it a reject from the Cheeto factory? No. Well, just like my sexuality, it used to be straight. Then Jennifer Lopez starred as Selena, turning me gay, obviously. Just as my brother did a knee drop to her song, Como La Flor, and broke my finger. And nobody believed me. About my finger, not my sexuality. That was pretty clear when I was a starting quarterback in 3rd grade. But my finger, my dad was like, Reese, you're being dramatic. But I wasn't. It was broken, and he refused to give me any medical attention, or, really any attention throughout my childhood. Look who can't get a football scholarship now, sperm donor. Anyway, like my father, society, too often we ignore women's pain. According to a March 28th, 2018 New York Times article, women are 7 times more likely to be sent home mid-heart attack. Guys, I guess Justin Bieber was right. There's just no turning back when your heart's under attack. Unless you're a woman, then go home. I'm paraphrasing. But this isn't new. For hundreds of years, we have been classifying women's pain as nervousness, hysteria, or overreacting. So, unlike male doctors, let's examine causes, effects, and solutions to ignoring women's pain. Because, I don't want to die! Until I've had my vengeance. Remember those days where your mom was like, oh, honey, you don't look so good. You should stay home from school. Yeah, me either. I could have died. And my mom would have literally dragged my lifeless corpse to first period and said, don't worry about her. Just throw air freshener around her neck and she'll be fine. Okay, bye, sweetie. Mwah. Causes. We don't believe women in pain, and we believe women deserve to hurt. First, we don't believe women in pain. Not even trained professionals. According to a 2014 study by the Journal of Research Psychology, finds that when doctors find women attractive, they preconceive them as healthier and therefore less in need of treatment. And since society, sucks, men tend to be in higher positions making decisions for these patients. Okay, so what we can gather from this is that 1, men should not be doctors. And 2, the next time I have a life-threatening allergy attack to Orbeez, real thing. Punch me in the face a couple of times until I look like Rocky so Dr. Jeff doesn't get too excited to be, a freaking doctor. Next, we believe women deserve to hurt. When I'm bent over in my period crying from period cramps, and someone comes up to me and says, but Reese, it's so beautiful. It connects you to the tides and the moon. Poetry, next week. If I want to be more connected to the ocean, I would, swim in it. Maybe change my lock screen. But according to a January 25th, 2018 Slate article, we could avoid menstruation altogether. Yet for hundreds of years, we have been classifying women's pain as essential. Everything about being a woman is associated with enduring pain. Menstruation, sex, childbirth, and beauty. Women have been long aware that beauty is tied up with this supposed discomfort. However, discomfort is its very origin. The beauty metric we know today was set by pain-stricken, emaciated, dying women. So basically modern-day Halloween costumes. Hi. I'm sexy tuberculosis. I'm literally dying. You ever notice how men are constantly trying to compare their pain to women's pain? Like, I got kicked in the dick once. Oh yeah? Heels, curlers, wait for it, women's suffrage! Pain is literally in my Tinder bio. Okay, not in a sexy way. Not knocking, just not my thing. Effects, a lifetime of pain and literal death. First, women face a lifetime of pain. I mean, the very first thing we're taught about sex is that losing your virginity, it's gonna hurt. So you just have to grit your teeth and get through it. No thanks. Actually, my first sex ed lesson true story came from a 65-year-old woman who said, quote, "Whatever you do, okay, don't put needles up there." Okay. Well, where else am I supposed to put my heroin, Helen, in my arm? John Gilbride, a university professor from the University of College London, explains that menstrual pain is equal to that of a heart attack.
Oh my.
Okay. So, Grandpa, the next time you have a little heart outage, guess what you're getting? A heating pad. I also heard sex helps. Next, ignoring women's pain has lasting effects like death. Which is pretty permanent unless you're, I don't know, Jesus. According to 30 years of data from the United Network of Organ Sharing, women are often less put on the list for a transplant, wait longer to get on the list for a transplant, and are more likely to die waiting. Alright, so scratch that. I got a new way to determine who gets organs. Alright, at the top, boom, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, obviously. Next, we got all the people that remember it's your birthday. Bradley, Jessica, tomorrow. I know it, and not because of Facebook. And at the way bottom, we have people who spit on the sidewalk. You're dirty, you have no heart, and guess what? You're not getting mine. Especially because I'm gonna need it. According to a March 25th, 2018 NPR article, as heart disease may be commonly seen as the plight of men, female heart attack patients are 3 times more likely to die from it. And it's not because we have weaker hearts. If anything, I have a heart of stone. Middle school was rough. Guys, the solution is clear. Men should not be doctors. I've created a petition that you can sign after this performance, and together we will make sure men can no longer practice medicine. Write your congressional representatives and get out there and protest. Hey, hey, oh, man, this doctor has got to go. Hey, hey, oh, man, this doctor has got to go. Let's go. Okay. Well, while I'm working on that, I guess we've got 2 more solutions. Advocate for women's pain and trust your bodies. All right, I'm gonna say this one time and one time only, and also every other time I give this speech. Men. We need your help. Oh, all right. That tastes really bad. But for real, you gotta stand this dumpster fires and you help get us out. And studies confirm this. When there is a man in the room corroborating with a woman's efforts, her pain is more likely to be believed. And honestly, I'm torn because A, gross, that's disgusting. But B, men are always like, how can I help? Here's your chance, champ. Next time you see a woman in pain, believe her and advocate for her. Offer to bring her to medical attention, and for the love of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all that is holy, take her to a woman doctor. Finally, women. Trust your bodies. You can practice by doing trust falls with yourself. Ready? Okay. Boom! Gotcha, body. The notion that advocating for women's pain may seem radical to some. It's not. If anything, we are used to not being believed. We must become informed health consumers and be aggressive with anyone who tries to negate or marginalize our symptoms. Because we are strong. But we don't have to suffer. Because suffering is for your enemies. Like sidewalk spitters. again. First, my grandma always said, Reese, never suffer any fools. But I'd rather just not suffer at all.
Performing her dramatic interpretation, please give it up for sophomore Tayland Ratliff.
For fun? I like to sing gospel. What do you call it? Christian music! My favorite song is Celeste le Don de Jesus. It's only you, Jesus. God will make a way. I am from Burkina Faso. It is a small country in the middle of Nigeria, Ghana, Mali, and Bamako. In West Africa, we speak French, you see. My family? Oh, my family is a big one. A family of 11 people. You cannot hide anything from anyone, you see. When I'm singing this song, I'm reminded of my suffering. But now, when I sing this song, I'm reminded of all the good things that God has done for me. This summer, the Trump administration announced that they would no longer view domestic abuse as ground for receiving asylum in the U.S., while the Obama administration allowed women to claim credible fears against domestic abuse. The Trump administration will make it harder for such cases to prevail in immigration courts. Mariam, a woman from Burkina Faso, provides a powerful testimony who came here under the Obama-era guidelines for thousands of women and LGBT individuals fleeing abuse. Their stories are real. Their voices are credible, and we must hear them. The Narrowing Path to Asylum, an audio collected by Michael Barbaro. Now, this story begins in 2005, when I met a man. I met him because he's not far from my house, and every time he sees me, he would wave. One day, he stopped me and said that I am the most beautiful thing he's ever seen in his life. And I say, I know. We began dating, and he brings me little gifts sometimes, like cookies and Fanta. I become pregnant. So he decided to pay the dowry. He pays it to silver and money to my family, and I went to live to his house. Now, the dowry symbolizes that you are no longer for your family, because he is buying you. Now, when we began to live together is when I realized he's not the man for me. All he wants to do is drink and watch football, and he's telling me bad words that I'm ugly and that I'm fat, because at this time I am pregnant. make him angry, and I did not want to, but he'd force me to do sexual things. He would say, well, what do you think I paid the dowry for? You are not my sister. And because my family took the money, I had to, or he would have been able to take my little sister. When I felt my life in danger was when I lost my baby. One night we fight, and he's screaming, and he runs to the kitchen to take the knife. Oh, but I thought he was playing, so I say, I am not afraid of you. And he stabbed me. Twice. You see, there is no other way. Because my country is so small, I had no other choice. I went to my uncle and I asked him for help. He says that I have to get out of Africa. So I applied for a visa to the U.S. And I know the U.S. would protect me. I was watching this movie, the Cosby Show, and he's always respecting the woman, like every time. And I see the men in your country, they respect the lady. And I say, this is what I want. This is the place for me. So I took the plane to JFK. We met at the immigration services, and they took me to this small room. And because I do not know English, I say, no, go back. No, go back. Stay. They spoke with me with such care that I've never seen before. They asked me if I had proof. No, go back. No, go back. No, Burkina Faso, no, go back. Since I am here, I do not have to worry about anything now. I do not have to worry about people saying bad words to me. Sometimes on the metro, people will say like, but only from New Jersey to New York. I met a man. I never thought that I would be able to be in love again. I want to learn better English, you see, so I can help organizations fight domestic violence. I am sorry that I do not have the words, but that I am thankful.
Please welcome our final performers of the evening. Sophomores Rickey Williams and Kiyah Sanders.
Don't touch my shit! I said don't touch my shit!
Get your trash out my house!
Yo! If you break anything, I'ma come up there and run around to your fat ass!
Ain't nobody scared of you, Mo!
Shut the fuck! Mind your business, Miss Jones.
And you wonder why you keep getting thrown out of foster home.
Fuck you!
Watch what the fuck you? Mo,
Dad?
I see you still crazy than a motherfucker. That's your mama, man.
Wait! Let me give you my number. I didn't even know you were out of jail.
I've been busy.
Well, now that you out, can I come stay with you?
You done lost your mind?
I can help pay for rent.
Nah.
I can get a job.
No.
I don't take up that much
no,
space.
I said no! Fuck Monique!
Well, I joined the boys wrestling team.
So they letting girls on the team now.
Yeah, I have practice tomorrow. You should come.
I'll be there.
It's tomorrow at 4 at Hatchman.
Mm-hmm. He ain't coming. This past summer, jarring images of thousands of migrant children filled our collective consciousness, and rightfully so, we were outraged. However, Time Magazine of August 2018 notes, while it is imperative we combat child welfare crisis at our borders, we continue to ignore disenfranchised youth in our own communities.
Nearly 500,000 children occupy the U.S. foster care system, half in which are black. These children face endless cycles of abandonment and poverty, and while we remain outraged, they remain outmatched, but eager to beat the system, no matter how hard they have to fight.
First match.
By Olivia Newman.
Okay! All right, Mo. Fix your stance. Left leg! Left leg! And... Mo.
Hey, Dad.
What's going on, Mo?
Nothing. I just came to tell you I made varsity.
Yeah, I saw you. You on the girl on the team, huh?
Yeah, most of the guys can't even keep up with me.
Now that's your pop's fighting jeans in.
I see they got my banner still hanging in that jump.
Yeah. Dad, can I ask you a question?
What's going on, Mo?
Why didn't you come find me when you got out of jail?
Shit, Monique.
It's just, well, I thought that, well, none of my other foster homes want me either.
Hey, what I tell you, shit don't always go as planned. But when my boy Jay get out, we gonna open up a car wash.
What?
Yeah, go 50-50 on the whole thing. Yo, ain't gonna be nobody's bitch. You know, you don't really appreciate
appreciate your own till you share a cell with a mental case.
Yo, this one foster home I had 6 kids in one room. Place smelled like shit.
You a trip, you know that? Now get the hell out of here. I'll see you tomorrow.
What's tomorrow?
Your first day of training.
Training?
I saw you at practice. Mo, your stance is weak.
Yeah.
And your left leg is trash. Alright, let's go. Pick it up. Step deep, stay low. Step deep, stay low. Oh, shit. Hey, you remember that one time I took you over to get your hair done and the girls across the street from your grandma's house called you ugly?
Yeah, I remember. I gave her a blood nose too. Ain't never talked to me like that again. And when I told you, you slapped me upside the head.
You remember why? Cause I ain't raised you
To give a shit what nobody else think. Yeah, I remember. I'll see you later, Coach. Dad. Coach Dad.
Where you going?
My new foster home. They got me staying with a Spanish lady.
She can wait. I need to show you something.
Damn! They boxing?
Hell no! You see any gloves? That's that underground street fighting.
Ooh, them girls on some other shit. I think that one girl just got her jaw broke.
Hey, Mo, remember I told you me and my boy going in on the car wash?
Yeah.
What about we go 50-50?
For real? But where would I get the money? Excuse me.
Mo, you know how much them girls make?
Those girls? I don't know. I don't think I could.
Hey, you made varsity a 9.
Well, yeah.
You already got an advantage. You working with the dudes. You training with me. Yo, Mo, one practice and you gonna be making as much as I make in a week.
I just don't know. Those girls are really tearing each other apart in there.
Man, you wouldn't toughen up on shit like this.
Wait! I didn't say no.
Alright, Mo. Just one practice. Keep your head planted and keep your face guarded. Mo, look at me. You got this. This is for you and me. Fuck what everybody else think. Let's go. Alright, so tonight we got a virgin final! Gap it up! Alright, let's rumble! Alright, Mo, come on, fix your stairs! Let's go! Look at that, baby girl!
Thank you, Daddy.
Come on, Mo, fix it up! Let's go! You got it!
But she called me ugly.
What I tell you, you don't give a shit what nobody else think. Come on, Mo. Let's go, Mo. Get into it. Lock in, Mo.
When will I see you again?
I won't be long, Mo. I'll find you when I get out.
But I need you.
You gonna sing a swim, Mo. And you gonna sing a swim. Let's go, Mo. Let's go. You the queen, baby girl. I gotta show you how to guard your face, though.
You get the money?
Yeah, don't worry about that. Yo, Mo, you gonna be a legend.
Can we live together now?
Let's just get you cleaned up first. A couple more fights, Mo, and we good, man.
A couple more. But you said I just had to fight.
Oh, there's only a couple G's. You wanna start fresh with me or not?
Well, of course I do, but I have a wrestling meet next week, and they're not gonna let me wrestle.
Man,
with
fuck
like
that
this.
wrestling shit. Ain't no money in that.
Coach said I might have a shot at a full ride scholarship.
You know, college cool and all till you get hit with real responsibilities. When your mama got locked up, I did what I had to do for you.
And I'm sorry, but I don't want to fight like that no more.
Oh, come on. You gonna bitch out on me now? Mo, you could be a legend.
I don't know. I can't.
Oh, so you soft now. You know what, man? Just get the fuck out of here.
Well, where do you want me to go?
I knew you weren't tough enough for this shit. Stop! Mo, I did this for you, and you gonna bitch out on me now?
Stop!
So you too good now. You too good for your own pop.